Hey Retro community, how's everyone doing? If you remember back to my September pickups video, you may recall that I picked up an IPS backlight screen for the GBA, as well as a replacement shell. And on top of that, I bought a working but not in a great shape GBA, as you can see here. And the reason I did that is because I did not want to mod my original GBA since it's in really good shape, and I'd rather just keep it original. So I bought this fancy little case here off of Amazon. It has this nice little rubberized textured paint job on there. And the reason that you're going to have to mod your case is because a lot of these light mod kits require you to shave off this area here, as well as trim away some of this as well in order to get the screen centered properly. That's because the screens that they use are a little larger apparently than the original GBA. So because of that, you don't really have a choice. You might also have to trim away some of this as well. Depends on the kit, but that is also why they give you a replacement lens, because of the fact that it's going to be in a different position and everything. All right, enough rambling. We're just going to get started. I'm just going to take apart the GBA that I purchased, the donor one. You're going to need a Phillips screwdriver to remove the screw in the battery compartment, and you're going to need a tri-wing or tri-tip as well to remove the rest of the screws. And carefully separate the two if it's possible. Now, in some shell replacement kits, the metal shielding is not included, so you may need to transpose this from the original to your donor case. This one did. Once you get to the board, you're going to need a Phillips screwdriver again, and you'll need to remove this screw and this screw. I don't believe there are any others that I can see. I believe all you have to do is lift these tabs up, separate the ribbon, and that's it. Now, if your replacement shell did not come with buttons or anything, then you'll have to transpose them as well. This is a perfect time to clean everything up. Mine came with buttons, and I'm going to use those. So that's the easy part, believe it or not. And the board looks, like I said, it's not too bad. I'm going to give it a little bit of a cleaning anyway, just because the speaker has to be cleaned up. And just, a little bit of isopropyl alcohol, as per usual. We also use the opportunity to clean the cartridge slot as well. So I'm going to go ahead and do that off camera because that's boring. Okay, so I went and cleaned it as best as I could. Like I said, I took a Q-tip with some IPA and just went over from the battery contacts to slides and switches and knobs and things like that. The headphone jack, link port, buttons here, the contact for the actual buttons, definitely the speaker. And there was a little bit of, I don't know if it was just leftover flux or what it was, around here. I wouldn't even come off with some IPA. I had to scrape it off and then clean it up with the alcohol after. And there was also some right over here as well. There's a little bit left, but not that big of a deal. Overall, this thing, is in good shape. So now that this is clean, what I'm going to do first is attach the screen to it, just to kind of like dry fit it. And I'm going to temporarily, I may put it in new shell, but probably put it in the old shell just to see if it works. My particular kit with the ribbon comes with both the 40 pin and I think it's a 32 pin connector. Fortunately, this donor board is a 40 pin, so I won't have to do too much. But if your GBA uses the 32 pin connector, I believe you'll have to fold this, which, once you fold a ribbon, that's it. You can't really unfold it. There'll be a permanent crease in there. And you also have to be careful. But that's fine. So we're going to go ahead and get that going. All right, well, that's working. And it's definitely backlit. Always good just to make sure it's working first. So for now, I'm just going to leave this be. Because we are going to have to prepare the shell, the front of the shell itself. And I'll try to superimpose some photos, but basically what we're doing is we're removing this down here to an extent, as well as trimming down this little, whatever this is here. So, well, sorry, I don't believe we're removing this for this specific kit. I don't think I have to. Definitely have to trim these down here and shave off some of the sidewall here, especially around the buttons and things. So I'm going to go ahead and we'll start cutting away a little bit. If you have a Dremel and you're really good with the Dremel, you may want to use that. I'm just going to use some snips. I've got a Dremel, but I'm not super confident with my skills. I also recommend getting some sandpaper, maybe a file, because this is going to be a lot more difficult to cut because of how thin of a profile it is. Yeah, I'm definitely going to get some sandpaper or a file and file that down, as well as this. Okay, so that took way longer than I really wanted it to, but you can see that it's much, much, much thinner. And I had to go over with a file over and over and over again several times. So I recommend either A, buying a pre-modded case, or B, learning how to use a Dremel really well. Although this corner here is going to be tricky no matter what, just because of the angle that it's at. It might be better just to cut at least around here, because the start and select buttons will still have support up as part of the case here, so this might not be that necessary. But I've got it filed down and sanded down enough that I can get the screen to fit with the little brackets, the little spacers, without any issue. So next step is to apply the adhesive, and this is basically getting to the point of no return, so to speak. If you're going to do this, you do this, although again, you're not going to be damaging your GBA, hopefully. So what I'll do first is separate this here, because we'll use this middle section to adhere the PCB ribbon to the back of the display. I also recommend grabbing a Q-tip or something and with some IPA on it, clean out the area here just to make it as clean as possible for the adhesive, although this type of 3M tape is pretty darn strong. So that's applied. We'll use this to rip the top part off so we can adhere the screen. Now, what we need to do is cut this strip just so we can adhere this to the back of this so it's not flopping around too much. Won't remove this just yet. I'm going to do another dry fit, so to speak. What we have to do next is get the spacers in place. And this is basically it. Depending on how much you've cut, you may have to put a tiny bit of force. Not too much, though. You obviously don't want to crack the screen. That's basically it. Now, again, it's an optional thing, whether you choose to do it or not, but there are these solder points that you can see here, the ground select, right and left. If you want to use brightness control, you're going to have to solder on some wires. Your kit may or may not have come with them. But the next thing you want to do is, if you're going to solder the points on, solder the wires on here first, and then you're going to route them under the board, and you'll end up soldering them, I believe. Where did we solder them to? I believe you're going to solder the right one to here, the left one here, and there's a test point here, a touch point here for select. I believe you're going to wire the select one there. But you might want to verify that with the instructions that came with your kit or by searching online. I will be verifying that later when I actually do the installation of that. If you're not going to do the soldering, then you can skip this step and go to the next one, which is to put this foam piece in, which will help protect everything. Then the next steps are, since we're going beyond just a basic mod, because I'm replacing the whole case, it's all of this, including a fake serial number and all of the rest of the goodness here. Some screws, buttons, LED, these are called, but it kind of takes the LED light and diffuses it a little bit, goes here with my kit. On off switch. Neat. What else do we have here? L and R. Yeah, so that's why they didn't want you to cut too far in, because you need something to brace the spring on the other side there. Let's see if I did the right thing or not. Yep, that's good enough. So you definitely cannot remove that much of the plastic. You'll have to file it down. You'll have to get it as thin as possible to get the screen kit to fit. Of course, the other thing you have to do is get this shield attached. So that's that. That matches up with the original. So then all that's left to do now to attach the PCB, or we'll just that for now. And I just bumped the camera with my head, I apologize. So there's that. Before I put the rest of this together, let's do one more test. Didn't damage the screen, so that's good. Wow, I really got fingerprints on that screen. Oh well. Let's take care of that now, because the last step is to install this lens. And this is a glass lens, whereas the shell kit itself just came with a standard plastic one. And I'll leave that upside down while I prepare this guy. It's not quite a perfect fit, and it could be that the case wasn't cut out properly. You can see there's a little bit of a part of the case showing there. It's possible, though, that I might be able to still reposition the screen lens. Future KozTech here. You can actually remove the lens if you use a hairdryer on the low setting to soften the glue so that you can lift the screen lens off. I did that, and unfortunately, it didn't make a difference. I should probably have cut the window out a little bit. It's also possible that maybe the lens wasn't stamped out correctly, or maybe the case itself just wasn't right, but that's on me. I'm just letting you guys know you may want to do a test fit first before adhering it permanently, especially before you put the screen on so you can cut that window out. I didn't, and now I have to live with this, so learn from my mistakes. That's fine. It's not going to bother me really, and again, this is my first attempt, so I can always try to go back later to fix that up. But that's it. I'm out of GBA. Play a couple of games on there, see how the screen works out, and go from there. So this is the completed project. Didn't go quite as planned, especially with the alignment of the screen lens and forgetting to take the screen protector off the LCD display itself, so I had to half disassemble it. And of course the whole thing with screws and just get pieces to fit together. But you know what? I'm not gonna, edit a lot of this stuff out just so that you guys can see some of the mistakes you may end up making when you're trying to do this mod. Again, like I said earlier, I recommend just getting a pre-modded case, or at the very least, investing in a Dremel tool and learning how to use it and control it very well. Although, again, you will have a problem with that one corner that I mentioned earlier, so you might have to still file it anyway. But as far as the rest of it goes, the case build itself is okay. It's not perfect, but I like it. I like the textured paint on there and the finish of it. I think it looks really sharp. And as far as the screen mod itself, well, here's some gameplay footage. It's remarkable what a difference there is between a non-backlit and a backlit GBA. Heck, even a frontlit or sidelit screen can't compete with a backlit one. So if you're thinking about doing this to your GBA, or you want to pick a broken one up and reshell it and do it for that, give it a shot. I mean, if you are confident in your abilities, go for it. So with that said, let's try a Game Boy game, and and again, it's backlit and it'll look great. And honestly, unless you mod a Game Boy Color, or a GBA, you're not going to be able to have a backlit Game Boy unless you import one from Japan known as the Game Boy Light, which was based off the Game Boy Pocket. But what fun is that? So, but yeah, tell me what you think. I may do another one of these in the future, just try to hone my skills a little bit more. Not that I'm going to be doing this professionally or anything, but I think it'd be fun to do one more of these and maybe take a little bit better care putting on that screen lens, especially because I think it's going to bother me going forward. So we're going to call it a wrap. What'd you think? If you liked the video, go ahead and hit the thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet, feel free to do so, but no pressure, although I do appreciate it. If you didn't like it, hit thumbs down, but please leave a comment below as to why so I can try to use that to make improvements going forward. And I guess that's it. I'll catch y'all later.